Imagine waking up tomorrow to breaking news, missiles launched, alliances shattered, and headlines screaming. World War III may already be here. But what if the signs have been hiding in plain sight all along? Today, we uncover whether WW3 is closer than we think, and the truth will shock you. For years, experts have warned that the world is closer to large-scale war than at any time since 1945. From US-China rivalries to Russia's expansion, the global balance of power is tipping. And history shows us, when power shifts, wars often follow. Every great war in history began with a spark. In 1914, it was the assassination of Archduke Ferdinand. In 1939, Hitler's invasion of Poland. Today, one drone strike, one miscalculated move in Taiwan or Ukraine could unleash a global chain reaction. Unlike past wars, World War III wouldn't just be fought with tanks and soldiers. With over 12,000 nuclear warheads worldwide, a single mistake could wipe out entire cities in minutes. The threat is no longer if, but when miscalculation becomes inevitable. China's rise as a global superpower has brought it head-to-head with the US, over trade, technology, and above all, Taiwan. Military drills in the South China Sea are no longer practice runs. They're warnings. The question is, who will blink first? Meanwhile, Russia's war in Ukraine has redrawn Europe's borders in blood. If NATO steps further in, Moscow could escalate beyond regional conflict, triggering alliances that drag the world into full-scale war. World War III wouldn't just be nations fighting nations. It would be alliances colliding. NATO versus BRICS, West versus East. Economies, militaries, and billions of lives would be entangled in the largest conflict the planet has ever seen. But the next World War wouldn't just be fought on land, sea, and air. Hackers, satellites, and AI would be the new front line. Power grids shut down, cities paralyzed, and AI deciding who lives, or who doesn't, in the battlefield of tomorrow. Even before the first shots are fired, economies collapse. Global supply chains cut, stock markets crash, and nations plunge into recession. For everyday people, this means empty shelves, job losses, and the kind of desperation that fuels even more chaos. The truth is, World War III may not begin with a bang, but with silence, a tense standoff, a world holding its breath, waiting for the first move. And when that move comes, it may already be too late to turn back. If history teaches us anything, it's that nations rarely see the next war coming. Before World War I, leaders claimed conflict was impossible in a modern, civilized world. Before World War II, many believed Hitler could be contained. Are we making the same mistake today? Not all wars start with bombs. Trade sanctions, cyber attacks, and disinformation campaigns are already destabilizing nations. These invisible battles could one day explode into real-world destruction. Taiwan could be the tripwire for World War III. One declaration of independence, or one Chinese invasion, would trigger US intervention. And once two superpowers collide, the rest of the world will be forced to take sides. The Middle East remains another powder keg. With tensions in Iran, Israel, and Saudi Arabia, one strike could set off regional wars that quickly pull in global powers. Energy supplies, oil routes, and ancient rivalries could fan the flames of global war. Meanwhile, the BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, are challenging the Western world order, expanding influence, building rival financial systems, and preparing for a future where the West is no longer in charge. Drones that kill without pilots, hypersonic missiles that can strike anywhere in minutes, AI commanding entire fleets. The next world war won't look like anything we've seen before. It will be faster, smarter, and deadlier. There's another overlooked trigger: climate change. As water, food, and land become scarce, nations could turn to force to secure survival. Climate wars may not be in the future. They may already be here. Wars don't stay contained. One strike leads to retaliation, which leads to escalation. A single spark could set off a chain reaction that engulfs the globe faster than leaders can stop it. It's easy to talk about geopolitics and weapons, but the real cost of World War III would be human lives. Families torn apart, cities reduced to rubble, generations scarred forever. This war wouldn't be fought over there. It would hit everyone, everywhere. Some argue World War III has already begun, just not in the way we expect. From proxy wars to cyber sabotage, from disinformation to economic battles, the first shots may already be fired. The only question is, when will the world notice? There are still more than 12,000 nuclear weapons on this planet. Even a limited nuclear exchange could end human civilization as we know it. In World War III, one mistake, one wrong decision, could unleash Armageddon. But what if the next world war isn't even controlled by humans? AI is already being tested in battle simulations. Machines don't hesitate, don't sleep, and don't show mercy. In a real conflict, AI could escalate faster than humans can intervene. The US and NATO on one side, Russia, China, and BRICS on the other, and dozens of nations caught in the middle, forced to choose. These alliances could determine whether the world splits in two or falls into chaos. Experts say the first 24 hours of World War III would be the deadliest in history. Cyber attacks would black out entire nations. Satellites would fall from the sky. Missile strikes would hit military bases before leaders even understood what was happening. Imagine waking up to sirens, internet gone, and news anchors announcing World War III has begun. Millions would panic, banks would collapse, grocery stores would empty in hours, life as we know it would vanish overnight. Within days, the global economy would collapse, stock markets frozen, dollar weakened, entire industries vanishing overnight. And for billions of people, jobs, savings, and hope would disappear with it. World War III would trigger the largest refugee crisis in history. Borders would be overwhelmed, cities would drown in chaos, and governments may not survive the flood of humanity running for survival. But not all wars would be fought with weapons. Cyber, biotech, and psychological warfare would hit just as hard. Propaganda and digital manipulation could control entire populations without firing a shot. Every war has a point of no return, when peace is no longer possible. If World War III reaches this point, it won't just change borders, it will change what it means to be human, and whether humanity survives at all. So the real question isn't if World War III will happen. The question is, how close are we already? And if the signs are this clear, why aren't more people paying attention? If a global conflict ignites, NATO would likely activate its rapid response forces. But the world hasn't seen an alliance tested like this since World War II. And unlike the past, the battlefield would extend far beyond land, sea, and air. It would stretch into space and cyberspace. China, on the other hand, has been preparing. With a rapidly expanding navy, hypersonic missile tests, and a cyber army of hackers ready to disrupt power grids and communications, their opening strike would be designed to paralyze an enemy before the first bullet is even fired. The first hours of such a war wouldn't look like the past. No trenches, no drawn-out tank battles. Instead, satellites would be blinded, drones would dominate the skies, and information itself would become a weapon. But here's the shocking twist. China doesn't even need to win every battle. If they can disrupt the global economy, choke trade routes and fracture international alliances, they could claim a strategic victory without firing nuclear weapons. Meanwhile, the US and its allies would respond with overwhelming air power and naval forces. But the cost of even a single battle, measured in lives, resources, and political chaos, could make governments hesitate. At this point, the entire world would be watching in terror. Billions of people could be cut off from the internet, financial systems could collapse overnight, and even the smallest countries would feel the shockwaves of a brewing World War III. Now imagine if this escalates further. China might push into Taiwan, while Russia takes advantage to move deeper into Europe. Suddenly, the world is fighting two wars at once, stretching NATO beyond breaking point. This is where the unthinkable comes in: nuclear deterrence. Both the US and China know that pressing the red button could end civilization. But in the fog of war, accidents, miscommunications, or rogue launches become a terrifying possibility. What if China actually won this war? Not through nuclear annihilation, but through strategic dominance. Global supply chains would bend to Beijing, the dollar could collapse, and entire nations would fall under China's sphere of influence. For you, the ordinary person, that would mean higher prices, shortages of basic goods, and living in a world where the rules are no longer set in Washington or Brussels, but in Beijing. But here's the chilling reality. A World War III wouldn't have clear winners. Even if China gained ground, the devastation, economic collapse, mass casualties, and shattered trust between nations would leave humanity scarred for generations. History shows us that every world war rewrites the global order. If this one were to happen, borders could shift, alliances could crumble, and entire ways of life could vanish overnight. And yet, the most terrifying truth is this. In our hyper-connected world, it might only take one miscalculation, a single drone strike, a single hacked system, to trigger a chain reaction that no leader can control. So, is World War III closer than we think? The signs are there: rising tensions, cyber warfare, and economic rivalries pushing us closer to the edge every day. But the future isn't written yet. The question is, will humanity learn from history or repeat it? Tell me in the comments. Do you believe World War III is inevitable? And don't forget, subscribe now for more mind-bending what-if scenarios you won't see anywhere else.